Drama with the Denver Broncos on the first day of mandatory minicamp. We're going to break it down here on the DNVR Broncos podcast. So we've got Henry Chisholm, Todd Davis, Yahir, and Zach Stevens rocking and rolling with you. Fresh off, coming to you from, what is it? It's Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit. There we go. We were there, as you can tell. I mean, look at Henry's cheeks, as red as a rose. Did a little better job with the arms, though.
Yeah, so this you can barely see it in here, which is actually kind of nice. But I have this weird tan line where it's like an L because I stand there like this with a pen in my hand. And so
he's trying to flex on you, Todd. That's actually what he's doing.
I wasn't flexing.
He's trying to flex.
I'm not worried about it.
That's actually pretty crazy. That reminds me, I was driving down there this morning and I saw a Porsche. I told Todd about this and I was like, wow, that's a shitty Porsche. And then I was like, whoa, I can't be thinking that. But because I've seen Todd's Porsche so many times, I'm like, that's a great Porsche. But then I see the other Porsches and he spoiled other Porsches for me.
What you're supposed to do, Henry, is you're supposed to say, I saw a Porsche, thought it was shitty, and then thought, man, I need a Toyota.
Toyota would have been better than that ugly thing.
So we've got so much to talk about because last week, what was the vibe of Courtland Sutton, would you say, when we had an exclusive conversation with him, when he told us that he was going to be at mandatory minicamp?
I think the vibe was positive. I think he was ready to get back with the team. I think he spoke highly of the team, spoke about how he was excited for this year and, you know, the progress that he has seen and just the heights that he knew the team could get to this year. So overall, I felt like it was a positive conversation.
Unbelievably positive. I came away from that thinking like, oh my God. Like, how many times did we say during that? Like, Courtland Sutton just gave an incredible speech that would like fire a team up to go win a game because he was saying we, us, Broncos, that he wants to be here for a long time. This is exactly we us Broncos.
No, we gotta like turn that into a thing. We us Broncos.
And he was so positive about his future with the team. And then he told us that he was going to be at mandatory minicamp. Number 14 was at mandatory minicamp. He was out there today. And we'll talk about just exactly what he did or didn't do. But after practice, he talked to the media, and it was a completely different vibe than what he had, than the vibe that he had with us last week. Because I'd had the exact same vibe takeaway from last week, Todd, of like, man, this is a guy who wants to be in Denver and that seemingly everything is going to work out. Today, he sent a very strong message. And Henry and Todd, you guys haven't heard it. We might actually hear from Courtland later in this show directly from these clips. But Courtland was asked, why haven't you been out there at OTAs? And his first answer was very interesting. You hear, do we have that one dialed up? Yep. Here we go. This is Courtland Sutton when asked, what have you been doing the past 9 weeks? Why have you not been at OTAs? This is an interesting answer here.
Doing some rehab. I was down in Florida doing some rehab. As you all know, I had some surgery. I had surgery on my ankle from the last game, so linked up with the training staff here. They sent me down to Florida to a guy that they were comfortable with, and was down there working with him, getting my ankle right. Was having a really good rehab process, and talking to the team. Coach and I were on the same page of me being able to stay down there and continue to get my ankle to where I needed to get to, so that ultimately be able to get ready for the season.
Wait, where's the contract talk? I thought that's why he was missing out on this. So then the follow-up to that was, well, wait, there was an NFL Network report from Tom Pelissero right when the offseason started about you missing this, that you wanted a new contract. Is there truth in that? And he said, yeah, I am looking to be paid right, and I'm just paraphrasing here, but essentially he said, I'm looking to be paid right, everything that we've thought that Courtland's looking for. Then he started, you could tell that he was not happy with things stand right now. He said, my representatives have talked to the front office. Front office has talked to us. We had some conversations going, and now it's got to a stalemate. And that is the word that he kept coming back to a couple of times in this was stalemate, and how he is not happy about this stalemate, to the extent where he did talk about, like, I do want to be a Bronco for the rest of my life, and I do want to be in the Ring of Honor, as he called it. He wants to be in the Ring of Fame. And he said, but I have to see that from the Broncos. They have to show me that love and support. They have to show me that they also want me here besides me just wanting to be here. And of course, he's talking about a raise. He's talking about give him some more money. We didn't find out the details of if he's looking for more guaranteed money this year, if he's looking for an extension where like the first 3 years become guaranteed and then there's a 4th and 5th year that's not guaranteed. We didn't find out if he just wants a raise this year. So we didn't find out the specifics there, but it was a very different vibe.
Yep. Very different. And I think they both could be true, that he does see the potential that the Broncos have and is excited to be a Bronco. But at the same time, he does want to be paid what he feels like he is owed and what he's worked to receive. I think that's the great thing about the NFL is that it's not many times that guys go and ask for money that they haven't already proven that they can kind of earn. So I think he's deserving of it. Will they give it to him? I'm not sure. But in my opinion, the best thing he could have did was come in the building. Most of the time when I see contract negotiations work out, they work out when guys are there, not when guys are gone. So I think it's always great for a team to see you there, to see how you interact with the new quarterback, what you bring to the table. I think people forget. People can forget, what you mean and start looking at numbers on the spreadsheet, and they start diminishing who you are and just do the numbers work out. But him being there, him showing his leadership, him giving his presence, being the person that we all know him to be, I think that's the best case for him to kind of prove his point to the team, like, I am very valuable to this organization. So maybe you guys should reconsider and think about paying me.
And as we kind of talked about it last week, it's a little tease for him to show up, show what he can do, show how beneficial he can be for Bo Nix. And actually, that didn't happen today before we actually have the clips from Courtland Sutton, which we'll play in just a second. But when you hear us dialing those up, we'll talk about what Courtland didn't do or did do on the field today. So Courtland was out there wearing a helmet, wearing everything that everyone else was. He went through stretches. He went through warm-ups. Then he did the very first individual period, which was kind of running around some cones, working on routes, and then catching a ball at the end.
Yep.
He went through that drill twice, and then he was done. And what I mean by done, then he went to the side field and just did conditioning with some guys that are hurt. Courtland, it doesn't seem like he's hurt and still working on that ankle. He said he feels good. Wouldn't comment if he's 100% yet, but and then Sean after practice talked about the reason for that was Courtland's just working his way back, and they're working him in smart. Sean did say the Court's in really good shape, looks good, and as everyone can see from that video, Courtland's in really good shape. His arms are huge. He looks good. It's not like he is completely out of football shape, but Todd, one of the things that coaches say all the time is in order to get in football shape, you got to play football. So they're bringing him slowly back in, and I have no issues with that. But it's not like there was this great bonding moment on the field between Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton, because he didn't do any 7-on-7s. He didn't do any team. And he actually didn't even catch a single pass from Bo today.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's nothing there's no alarms there. I think that's normal for a guy coming back, whether you're injured or just had time away from the team. I think they're actually protecting him. You know, you don't want him to pull or tweak, stretch anything too far. So I think it's a smart move. Yeah,
before knowing there was an ankle thing, I was talking to Ryan Edwards on the sideline. We were like, okay, where did Court just go? And he's like, off to the side field. And I was like, well, I feel dumb for not even considering this. Because, of course, a guy comes back, he hasn't played all that much. Of course, you're going to, have him go over there, go through, the footwork stuff, maybe run the hill a little bit. Just let him take a day or couple days, pass the conditioning test, however Sean does that, and then kind of work your way in. But hearing that there was an ankle surgery definitely isn't what you want to hear. I'm not concerned, but it's guys just get surgeries after the season. It's a little bit different. Hockey's where it really happens, where just half the team is gotta get the shoulder fixed, the hips, whatever. That happens in football too. And I'm not he did enough to where I'm not concerned.
And so we did find out about this ankle surgery a
Yeah.
couple of months ago from Mike Kliss, I believe he put it
Yeah.
out there. The injury happened in the very final game of the season against the Raiders. And so Court initially presented it as like, well, I was down in Florida because the Broncos sent me to a guy down there, did surgery, and I just decided to kind of rehab with him. So then the question was asked, well, what about that NFL Network report and hear about wanting a new contract? And here's Courtland's response.
I mean, it's yeah, I don't know who talked to them, but I mean, it's obviously it's something that has been conversed about. There we go. Conversed about, and you know, my team and I have been in contact with you know, the guys upstairs to handle all of that stuff, and you know, we kind of were going back and forth trying to figure out the best way to, you know, kind of find a middle ground for the situation, and you know, we are at a stalemate in a sense, but you know, I have confidence and faith that the right thing will be done.
Okay, there's a contract. Addressing it head on.
Yeah. So I think for the most part, we all kind of agreed that this was going to end with him coming back and nothing really being done was our consensus. And that would kind of be a stalemate, you know? So I think that this is a stalemate phase. And so the fact that they're still talking or whatever means that it's not over yet. I know there's like the training camp thing, which I'm not sure if we're going to play, but
We are.
We are? Okay. So
we'll just get to it right now because Henry, you said like, we all agree that this is probably what was going to happen.
Yeah.
We understand why Court wants more money, and he certainly has an argument. You look at Jerry Jeudy's contract, and he has an argument to want more than Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry Jeudy's making more than him. But we also understand that Court is under contract for 2 more years with the Broncos, and so that gives the Broncos so much leverage. And one of the things that Courtland had leverage with was maybe skipping all of OTAs and then maybe not coming to mandatory minicamp, although he would have lost $101,000 if he would have missed these 3 days. So it was kind of assumed like, well, if he comes to mandatory minicamp, he's here for training camp. Everything's good. Not so fast. Courtland Sutton was asked, well, you're here. Does that mean you're coming to training camp? And here's what he had to say.
You know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, got a month to be able to, you know, get things situated. Hopefully things get situated because, you know, as you all have heard, and I will continue to say, this is where I want to be. This is home. This is where I want to, you know, go hoist the Lombardi Trophy. This is the place where I want to be able to retire. This is a place where I want to hopefully, you know, be able to, you know, put enough out, you know, once my career is done that I can, you know, hopefully be able to have a bid at the, you know, Bronco Ring of Honor. But, you know, those are all things that, you know, have to be earned, and hopefully I'm able to have the time to be able to, you know, continue to showcase that, you know, I'm capable of being in that caliber of people.
So here's the drama, is we thought it was done when he told us last week he's going to be a mandatory minicamp. Maybe he still wants the contract and wants more money, but like, okay, big drama set aside. Now, I can't imagine over these next 48 hours we're going to get a deal done between Courtland and the Broncos. But if there's not one done by training camp, then we're going to have this exact same drama leading up to camp.
I like it. From a player's perspective, I definitely like it. I think it's strategic. You know, sometimes you got to be able to play the game. And I think he's done enough by showing them, like, hey, guys, I want to make this work. I'm here. I'll show up for mandatory minicamp, and if you guys are going to make it work, I'll be back for training camp. But if not, I'm not making any promises and guarantees, because I think if he comes out now and says, I'm going to be back at training camp, there's really no rush for them to go ahead, and there's no reason to sign a contract then. We'll just hold on to what we have him for the next 2 years, and we'll see how it goes. So I like the gameplay. I like his attitude towards it. And if I was in his shoes, I'd probably do the same thing.
And it's as from a fan perspective, you also like hearing that he wants to be here. Like the whole thing being about guaranteed money and potentially like adding years and that sort of stuff. Fans don't love when players kind of try to take the team over the barrel, but that is a way that is definitely more acceptable when you say, like, I've been here my whole career, I want to be here my whole career, and that's what this is all about.
So, Todd, you talked about how he did show up here and showing the goodwill to the organization. Well, he was asked, did you consider not showing up for mandatory minicamp? And here's the last clip that we're going to play from you just to get a full insight of what's going through Court's mind right now. And here's what he said when asked, did you think about not showing up this week?
It was something that was conversed about. My team and I had conversations about it. I mean, missing OTAs wasn't easy for me, you know. I love ball. I love this game. I love, you know, the camaraderie that it brings with my teammates. I love seeing the pure joy on people's faces when they play it and when they watch it. And so for myself to not be able to, you know, be around, and even if I was able to do rehab here and just be around, for me not being around, it was definitely a tough couple of months of not being able to be around with the guys and just, you know, just be around ball. And so, you know, it was definitely something that was considered. I'm not gonna say I wasn't a fan, but obviously I'm here, you know, so that's the biggest thing. I wanted to make sure that it was known that, you know, yeah, I was upset about how the contract went about, how the conversation went about, how the stalemate has persisted, but I also wanted to be known that, you know, I love ball. I love the guys. Be able to come out here and watch practice and to be around the guys, even just to stretch and move around with them a little bit was so much fun, man. I enjoyed it, you know, to the fullest. And so, you know, it was something that was considered, but I don't think it was a high consideration just because, you know, I think that the point has been made already. I think that everyone who needs to know knows what the situation is. And like I said earlier, I'm hoping that we're able to, you know, find a solution and get to the bottom of this because this is where I want to be. And you know, just hoping that it's mutual. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all.
Just, I mean, a terrific answer with so much insight. He talks about how he wants more money, where things are, that there's a stalemate going on, that he wants to be here, and then he talks about the things he talked about with us last week, and then he ends it with kind of a very straight face, sending a message across. I want to be here, and I hope it's mutual. But at the same time, one of the things he said was he did have conversations about not coming to mandatory minicamp, but he did want to be here, and he thinks the point is across, which brings me to training camp and what we kind of talked about earlier. Like, man, if the Broncos don't give him that contract, he's saying, we'll see. My guess is he still does show up, but the one thing that he could do to not lose money is be a hold in. And that's been talked about in the Toyota chat with people talking about, was he a hold in this time? I don't think Courtland Sutton was a hold in today, but that's something I want to ask you, Todd. When a player is healthy or borderline healthy or has these other things going on and they miss the first 9 weeks of OTAs, is it his decision to go work out on the side field and not do 7-on-7 in a team? Is it the coach's decision? Is it the trainer's decision? Is it a combo? Where does that come from?
It's usually the team's decision. I think that in most cases, I mean, there's a few where it may be the player's decision, but in most cases, if you're there, teams expect you to follow the order of how things go. I mean, if you're going to take the stance, if I'm not doing any work, then it's probably better for you just not to show up. I would say that in my career, I've never seen a player come and demand to not do part of the work and be on the other sideline. Not saying it's never happened across the league,
right,
but most of the time I think it's the team's decision to kind of, you know, bring guys back in slowly.
Yeah, and that's what I think too. So I do believe Sean when he says we decided to move him back slowly, and you're probably not actually benefiting anyone that much by having him be a full participant. You're probably only risking an injury likely to him more so if you just ramp him back up. So I don't believe that this is a hold in now. But come training camp, if he doesn't want to be fined because the fines go up, so I think it's $50,000 a day if you miss training camp.
The sixth day, you can take back 15% of the signing bonus, which for him would have been pretty big. And that's 1% per day for the next 10 days, and it's capped at 25%. I think you lose like an 18th of your salary for each preseason game you miss. So I personally would not mess around with any of that, but I also don't have the contract he has.
And that's why when Courtland says we'll see on if he'll show up for training camp, I think it's more so the conversation shifts to we'll see if he's going to hold in or not. Because a hold in is you show up so you don't get fined, in Marshawn Lynch's way of saying it. But then you just say, I'm not practicing. And you stand on the sideline, you stay in the building, you watch practice from somewhere, and then you don't get fined. It's very awkward, I have to imagine. Todd, I don't think any of your teammates ever did that.
No, I don't think so.
From a
it's very
player,
rare.
would that be awkward? Like not Courtland, but if you're on the team, would that be weird?
No.
Okay.
No, it probably it may feel weird. Sometimes maybe.
Sure.
Like if I'm talking to him and then Sean walks by, you kind of like get a little quiet. Might get a little quiet or something but for the most part, I feel like no, because I think football's a business, but you realize that each person is kind of his own company.
Yeah.
So whatever your company got going with the Broncos, it really has no effect on what I got going with the Broncos. So no, I don't think it'll be too bad.
Okay, that's good to hear, because maybe that's what we're getting to, and we'll see how this unfolds over the next few days. Maybe Courtland does a little more tomorrow, a little more Thursday. We're gonna, of course, be breaking it down right after practice, just like we are today. So we're gonna continue to follow this, but a very interesting situation going on with Courtland Sutton and the Broncos, and there was so much more going on at practice today. Let's dive into everything else that happened from Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, Nik Bonitto, Tim Patrick. There's so many things, Greg Dulcich, so many things to hit on. And speaking of hitting on, Courtland Sutton is going to be out at Coors Field tomorrow night with UC Healthy Swings. He's going to be hitting on some baseballs, trying to knock them out of the park. And you guys know about UC Health's Healthy Swings. It's a really cool event that's going on tomorrow night with so many Broncos, including Courtland Sutton, Garrett Bowles, Jaleel McLaughlin, Jarrett Stidham, Will Lutz, Matt Henningsen, Adam Troutman, Quinn Miners, Damari Mathis, and Jonathan Cooper. They're going to be out there hitting home runs in a home run derby, which we're going to be at starting at 6:30. We're going to be going live from Coors Field, so tune in with us tomorrow night to get an update what's going on. Maybe we'll have some of these guys on the show to talk to and see what's going on. And it benefits, UC Health is benefiting Next Chapter, which is a fantastic organization that supports veterans and their families. So it's more than just a derby. It's about making a difference in the community and supporting our local heroes. So make sure to tune in with us and UC Health for the Healthy Swings event tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. It's going to be a lot of fun to help people.
You forgot somebody on that list, man.
Who did I forget?
Yours truly.
Hey!
I've been taking a couple swings.
Oh,
Really?
Let's go!
I'm not a
Breaking
baseball
news.
player, but you know what I'm saying, it should be a lot of fun. I'll do anything for a good cause, and I definitely want to be there to support UC Health. So,
Wow.
and they told me I raised money whether I hit something or not. So that's what really gave me the
Wow.
courage to go out there and swing.
How are you practicing? You are practicing.
I will practice.
Okay,
I will
good.
practice. I
Okay,
think my
good.
son has a T-ball set at home.
Okay.
I may have to bring that out just to see what I could do.
Wow.
But it should be a fun night. I'm really excited.
That's going to be awesome.
We might need to go to like City Park or something and get some swings in.
Yeah. If you guys can pitch underhand.
I can pitch underhand.
And shout out to our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing. You guys know Red Hawk Roofing is the best company for your roof. If you're worried about any leaks, if you had some hail damage, if you need to get some stuff taken care of, you definitely want to call Red Hawk Roofing. Last Will's hailstorm was the most damaging since 2017. Red Hawk Roofing is here if you are affected and will take care of you. They offer a free consultation if you need help with your hail. Red Hawk Roofing has your back. They have you covered, and I think that's super important because if they're covering what covers your house, I think you're definitely well taken care of. So go check out our friends at redhawkroofing.com or call 720-771-8921 and tell them DNVR sent you. Go call Red Hawk Roofing. Can we get that howl one more time? Was that a screech or a... There it is.
What is that?
I don't know what that is.
A hawk does what?
It's a hawk screech.
So it's
Is
a
it
screech? A screech.
Yeah.
Interesting. Henry, do you want to screech for us? Oh, gosh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have asked.
Yeah, I'm not a hawk.
Okay, so typically it's the Bo Show right after we get back from practice talking about
Yeah.
Bo. But when court's in session, we got to turn to Courtland Sutton. So now let's get to the Bo Show today. And Henry, was it the Bo Show? What were your impressions of the quarterbacks?
They were all solid. Yeah, I didn't come away with big complaints from any of them. I think that once again, Zach Wilson's problem.
You messed with your cord.
I mess with my cord?
We can't hear you. You wanna use
Should
my
Henry
mic?
not talk?
Yeah, somebody else real quick.
Okay, so when we figure out Henry's cord, I'll tell you my impressions of the quarterbacks. And
I could be Henry if you want.
Yeah. Okay, Todd, tell me your impressions of the quarterbacks.
I didn't have big complaints from any of them.
That's what I said. You just copied.
Okay, Henry.
So Zach Wilson probably came in third again, but he didn't have any like hilarious mistakes today, which step in the right direction. I think Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham, both of them were very consistent. A lot of checkdowns. There wasn't a lot of stuff downfield. I think Bo hit one that was like 15 yards downfield, like a shallow post or something like that. During 7-on-7s, the rest of it was all just running backs in the flat. There were a lot of screens today, a lot of checkdowns. And the one throw that really stood out was Bo Nix with the very last throw of practice just hit a bomb on like a skinny post or crosser. And that was to number 30,
Yep.
who we don't actually know who that is.
Tryout player.
Last I checked, yeah, because they had a bunch of guys on tryouts today. We'll get into some stories
Love
about
those
those.
guys.
But yeah, number 30, the receiver, may have made a name for himself. Unfortunately, we don't know who that was.
Well, and so without a doubt, that was the throw of the day
Yep.
at practice. And it was a very final play. Bo's rolling out
Yep.
right on a bootleg, and number 30 comes open across the field, 25, 30, 35 yards downfield, and Bo hits him. Now, it wasn't an absolute perfect throw, but it was where it needed to be. The receiver kind of slowed down to catch it, but it was a great play design to get him wide open, and it was a great job by Bo rolling to his right to
Yeah.
then find a guy in the middle of the field, adjust enough to be able to have the strength to throw it across there. So without a doubt, like a big play to end practice, which was awesome. That was definitely the play of the day, and because of that, you probably I think I'd make the case that Bo Nix, for the first time,
Yep.
won the day in this quarterback competition. Bo and Jarrett have kind of been neck and neck, but every single day in OTAs from the practices we saw, Jarrett was the guy that just made a slightly better play outside of Bo, so that kind of put him ahead, but Bo was just kind of right there. Now, I think it was flipped today. I think Bo was the winner today, but Jarrett Stidham right there with him, and Zach Wilson not too far behind, where we've been saying the other practices, Zach Wilson kind of very far behind. There were 4 incompletions this entire practice. All of the quarterbacks combined for 4 incompletions, according to my notes. Zach Wilson had 2 of them. Jarrett Stidham had 1. Bo Nix had 1. Now, a lot of that was the product of the practice. There was a lot of checkdowns, a lot of quick reads, a lot of easy decisions being made, but smart decisions. If you're not turning the ball over, I'm sure a coach would take 5-yard completions with no big plays, but no turnovers all day. And that's just something that we continue to see from Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham in the practices we've seen. We've now seen 4 of them this offseason. Those guys have not turned the ball over a single time. Zach Wilson, we've seen 1 interception, but no turnovers from Jarrett and Bo. And I'm going to give Bo the win on the day. But that final pass was the play of the day because it went for 30, 35 yards. But there were 3 other passes and 2 that really stood out to me that Bo Nix made, which just gave me so much encouragement. And it was 5-yard completions in the middle of the field. But why I was so impressed when they were back-to-back plays during a team period, pressure immediately is beating down on Bo Nix in the pocket, and he's on his back, just a 2-step drop on his back foot. He just sidearms passes right over the middle of the field, absolutely darts him in, so much zip on him. And that's not something we talk about Bo Nix a lot, is his arm strength. But when he needed to, when he was under pressure, when he was at an awkward angle on his back foot, he throws a sidearm pass, gets it right to the receiver, completions both times. I just loved to see that I don't need my quarterback to throw 100 miles an hour every single play. But when he needs to, can he do it? And I've only been impressed with Bo, and he put that on display twice today. And then the other one, it was just, it was one of the final plays of practice. He threw a 2-yard out. And I don't remember who it was to, but he threw a 2-yard out that was completed. And what was so impressive about that was the reason he threw that is because he saw pressure coming, and then before the snap, he knew where pressure was coming. He knew exactly where to go to, and that is something that Sean Payton values so much, that pre-snap ability to read the defense, and then instead of taking a sack because you don't know where the pressure is coming, or instead of kind of getting flustered and throwing a ball in the air. He just got a easy 2-yard completion. Receiver turns up, gets 3 more yards. Boom. You're sitting at 2nd and 5 instead of 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 15 because of a sack. So I just continue to be very impressed with Bo, and not just by like the big flashy throws, but the smaller things that he's doing.
Yeah, I think he's shown a lot of good traits. The thing that is great for me is that I just feel like he is really starting to put it together. And I think he's going to be one of those guys who, although he had a great collegiate career, some people's games translate better in the NFL than even in college. And like, even for me, I feel like I was a better player in the NFL than I was in college, just about how the NFL ran schemes, how they chose to attack defenses. I think it fit me better than, playing in the spread all day long and just running and gunning all day. So I think for him, I think he'll have a similar experience because he's going to be right. Let's just say he's right 75% of the time with checkdowns and intermediate throws. And then, the other 25% of the time, he has the ability to make the spectacular throws when he needs to. But I like that it's a small part of his game and not what everybody's looking to be the majority part of his game. And I think that's how you are able to be consistent in the NFL for so long.
Yep.
I think the things that stand out to me today, there were a lot of like different arm angles, like with pressure, guys in his face, hitting a window. There was, I guess, and maybe it was only that one throw off his back foot, some throws on the run, but a lot of that kind of like chaos stuff that, like Patrick Mahomes turned into like something that you really, really like. And with the people I was with, there was some discussion, like, did you really need to do that? Is this maybe going to be cause for concern if you're sidearm when you could just throw like a nice simple ball? But again, like I didn't have any beef with it. I thought all of it came with a reason. You just want to make sure that when you try that stuff in games, it actually works, because otherwise, again, like that's what Zach Wilson was known for, is a lot of that sort of stuff. And obviously that didn't work. When you start throwing sidearm interceptions, people are like, what the hell are you doing? When you start like that long ball, you roll out and then you kind of change your shoulders back and try to get back across the middle. That's one of those throws that sometimes don't work out. And so as long as you hit them, it's great. And that's the difference between, I think that's the difference between maybe just like a Jimmy Garoppolo game manager type versus being able to do some more things. But yeah, I just want to see it translate, but there's definitely nothing wrong. Oh, and then go back to the pre-snap reads. He does a really good job of, like, there's one play in particular where they run a guy in motion across the formation. You see it's man coverage, and because the guy's in motion, the other corner kind of sits off. It's just a quick little hitch. And it's just stuff like that where it's just so simple and so easy, and that's going to work every single time you run that play. That those are the sorts of things that you didn't have last year. And so if you can just find, because for a good offense, the 30-year completions are just those like simple, easy little reads that never have any risk. And so it's just an automatic completion that might only get you 2-3 yards, but who knows? Maybe it gets you 8 or 9. Yeah,
but it's taking what the defense gives you. I think that's what great quarterbacks do. Patrick Mahomes has a spectacular plays where he spin out the pocket and finds a player downfield for 50 yards, but most of his work is done traditionally in the pocket and just taking what the defense gives you. So that's what smart players do. So if you can do that a majority of the time, I think it'll be really easy for him.
I'm so happy you brought up Mahomes, because that is 90% of Mahomes' game is just taking the easy stuff down low. But of course, unless you're watching every single Chiefs game, you don't realize that because they show the crazy 10% of the things that he does. But it's, if Mahomes was bad at that 90% and wasn't able to find the easy stuff that was 5 yards downfield, he'd be a backup in the NFL.
Easy.
Because that is so much of his game, and that is going to be so much of Bo's game. And I saw some people in the comment section and the Twitter chat saying like, man, I don't want all these short things. You know who does? Sean Payton wants all of these short things. How many times, Todd, on a Monday would you come in with the inside scoop and tell us, here's something that the wide open receiver, 5, 10, 15 yards down the field, middle of the field, outside, that Russ is just missing. And instead, when he's wide open right there, Russ holds on to it, doesn't throw it to him, instead turns around, runs right into a sack, turns around, a defender chases him down, knocks the ball out, turns around, runs around, throws the ball out of bounds when you could have had 5 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards. Those are things that drove Sean Payton crazy. Bo, and credit to Jarrett and Zach specifically today, all three of those guys were finding those today. So my biggest takeaway is I sound like a broken record, but Bo just is keeping right up with Jarrett Stidham. And after practice, Sean was asked, when do you want to make a decision by? And he said it's better to make the right decision than the quick decision, and said the time frame for this is he just wants one before a week before the first game. So according to him right now, he's in no rush. And I'll tell you what, the way he's handling things, he's proving that he's in no rush, saying that OTAs are kind of just to get people prepared for the competition that's going to come in training camp. I disagree with that. I think Sean should make a decision yesterday and just have Bo be the starter. I've seen enough from this already. I do still think it's going to be Bo Nix as the starter, but clearly there's no rush on Sean Payton's end with this.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think he'll make the right decision at the end of the day. And I don't know if I need to rush and put that pressure on Bo. I think Bo knows it's coming, but I think it gives him a little bit of time to kind of like still understand who he is. If he makes a mistake with the threes, it's not a huge deal because you're not the proclaimed starter yet. I think it still gives him time. And then going back to all the short and intermediate routes, I think, Sean Payton is huge on time of possession. He loves the offense to stay on the field, put together long drives, keeps the defense off. That's huge to him. And I think football doesn't have to be hard. And I think if you're a coach, your job is to make it easy for your players. If you have Von Miller rushing against an all-pro left tackle, we'll probably move him to the right. Even though Von can win on the left, we'll move him to the right, let him have an easy day. Yep. So I think the easy check downs, especially with some of the guys we have, Troy Franklin, Jaleel, guys that can take it 5 and make it 15, I think that's what you do, and that's how you help your quarterback. So I think it's good. Hopefully it all works out, but I don't see many people winning, like constantly throwing the ball 15 yards down the field all the time. I mean, Miami does a good job of it, but a lot of the stuff that you see really successful players from Tom Brady to Peyton Manning to Patrick Mahomes, a lot of 5 to 10 yard routes, recognizing defense, get the ball out of your hands, and letting your playmakers make plays.
Yep. That's like 90s football. Where every throw you're just like, let's see if we can get 30 here. Yeah.
I mean, it's the gunslinger mentality, right? It's like I'll throw 30 touchdowns and 20 picks, but the coaches are going to be okay with the 20 picks because I threw 30 touchdowns. You do that now, and just ask Jameis Winston. You throw 30 and 30, well, he's on the bench. He's a backup now. That would not fly in today's NFL. Drew Lock. One of the years that he was the starter, he led the NFL with 15 interceptions. With 15 interceptions. And then obviously he lost his job the next year because of it.
And they're also running the ball 35 times a game.
Right.
They're handing it all. You know what I'm saying? So when we do throw it, go for it all because we're sticking to the running game no matter what.
Yep. The only complaint I had with Bo all day was there was just one route, Philip Dorsett. He's running like a drag route. But again, zone coverage, you're supposed to sit there instead of keep running. So he sat, and Bo threw it as if he was going to start running. And then afterwards, just like Bo tapped himself on the chest and said, "My bad." But other than that, like it really was just an almost perfect day.
I mean, other than that, it was a perfect day. No balls hit the ground, and that was the only one, a miscommunication where it was clearly Bo's fault on that one. But if a quarterback, just throwing rough stats out there, goes 9 of 10, I'll take that in like a first half of a game. And then especially when you end the half with like a 30-yard pass, maybe it gets in the end zone, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, I'll sign up for that. We got so many other notes to get to, including Tim Patrick, Nik Bonitto, Greg Dulcich. Let's dive into that. But we got to tell you about Baron Browning, who was out there today. We talked to him after practice, and he gave a shout out to his friends over at Vestibule, also our friends over at Vestibule, because he was asked, like, why did you do this with Vestibule? And is it because you believe in yourself and you want to kind of bet on your future? He said, yeah, it's a little bit of that. But another reason with Vestibule is I want to be able to connect with fans even more. And that's what Vestibule allows me to do. It allows fans to actually have stake in my game and then me be able to give back to fans. And it's a really cool idea that Vestibule is doing. As they say, they're redefining fandom, and that's what Baron Browning talked about today. Big number 5 out there. He says he's worn 5 his entire life, and then when Randy Gregory got here, Baron was just too slow to switch to number 5. Randy got it, so then he now switched to number 5. So big number 5 out there looking really good, and if you want to bet on his future success, you can buy his IPO that's live right now over at Vestibule. The best way to do it is to scan the QR code, which downloads the app, or you can go to the App Store and download the Vestibule app to buy Baron Browning's IPO shares. There's also going to be other players that they have, including at the college level. Stay tuned for those, but it's really cool that they're starting off with a Denver Bronco with Baron Browning. So go to the App Store now, download the Vestibule app, and buy Baron's IPO, which is available now, but shares are limited.
And also check out Bet365. I'm really excited for this weekend because the Pittsburgh Pirates are in town. Yes, as they say. And Sunday, Skeens is pitching, which is going to be a lot of fun. He's like the only starter. He has like the 20 fastest pitches of any starter this year. The rookie, crazy, dating
What's
that
the number one prospect?
LSU gymnast lady,
Who
the
I believe-
TikToker.
Is she the highest paid NIL athlete? Yep.
Yeah.
Livy Dunn.
That's not my world. But yeah, so it's going to be awesome seeing him go out there, and hopefully the Rockies just put on a show against him. It'd be incredible. Yeah, so that's Sunday. They've got other games before, and I'm going to be going to those games, and I'm going to be making bets on the Rockies on all those games after they go down. That's the new move. You don't, this is not based on any real numbers, but I don't think they've taken a lead and won that game yet this year. Just doesn't feel like it at the very least. So wait for them to go down like 2-zip and get your like 6-1 odds and have a good time, because then you don't lose that much money, but you can make a lot. That's my move at Bet365. If you guys want to jump in, you can go to use the code DNVR365. You deposit $10 and get either a bet and get offer, replace a $5 bet, and get $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer by placing a bet up to $2,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in bonus bets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Did you say bonus bets?
Yeah.
Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, maybe next time.
You know who was a big bonus for Knicks today?
Who?
Tim Patrick. And it was so great to see Tim Patrick really have a dominant practice and be just every quarterback's favorite target on the day today, because literally I was walking in to Broncos practice today and I heard a couple of media members saying like, man, Tim's done nothing. I'm worried he's not going to make the team. Like, he's probably on the outside looking in. And I literally heard that walking in practice today. And Tim Patrick probably caught 5-6 passes
Over and over
and it was classic Tim Patrick fashion. When I think of Tim Patrick, I think of Mr. Reliable. I think of a quarterback's best friend. I think of a guy, when they need a completion, they go to Tim, a safety net. And that's exactly what he was today. Maybe all of his passes were little 5-yard hooks in the middle of the field coming from all three quarterbacks, and he caught every single one of them. And then I think after one of the catches, he made a nice little play, a little juke to get some separation and then actually make a play down the field. And man, that is exactly what Tim Patrick has been for this team, and I think exactly what the Broncos want from him. The Broncos have, outside of Courtland Sutton, the Broncos have a lot of talent, but a lot of unknowns. And maybe Josh Reynolds, you put him in with Courtland Sutton, more of a known, but you're going into the season with Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Devon Vele, a lot of young guys with a lot of potential, but whoever the starting quarterback is, they're going to want, like, especially that first third down that they face in the season, they're going to want to go to a guy that they know they can trust, and Tim Patrick is that, and boy, did he put it on display today. Number 12, it was so great to see.
Yeah, Tim is one of my biggest assets for Bo on the offense. We talked about understanding man versus zone coverage. I think Tim does it probably the best out of anybody on the team right now. He understands how to find the pockets and holes in defenses to be able to, be his best self. So I'm excited. I think he looks good out there. I think he looks fluid. Doesn't look like he's really come back from injury. So I think he'll be great, especially in the intermediate game, coming across the middle, being able to find the holes in between the linebackers and the safeties. I think that's his bread and butter. It always has been. And I think he'll fit right back into the spot that he was playing.
Yep. It's especially nice for a team that doesn't have a good tight end. At least it doesn't seem like they do at the moment. Hopefully somebody shows up, but like, he does a lot of the things that you would want that guy to do. And it's a lot easier to go nickel with him in the slot knowing that going like, even like, I mean, really anything like 11 personnel, 12 personnel, whatever it might be, with Dulcich in the slot or Kroll in the slot, you just get so much more out of him. Also, you mentioned this, but that juke, I don't know for sure, and I probably shouldn't say if I don't know for sure, but I think it was Devin Key who got his ankles just stolen. Like, Tim just like shook him a little bit and he just went sliding, which again, I'm not sure how much that has to do with like an Achilles or the ACL previous or anything like that, but it was fun to see. Like, that's what you want from a vet, is like with a young guy who he's getting like an awesome opportunity, just thanks in part to a bunch of injuries among all the safeties. But you want to see the vet take advantage of those guys sometimes. Well, like, you just do. Like, it's okay. Tim's good. Like, look what he just did to that. Devin we like Devin.
Well, I don't know if Mr. Key is bummed out by what happened today. Obviously, that probably wasn't too fun. There was a lot of oohing and aahing. But Tim Patrick, likely a starting receiver, and Devin Key, he's on the field at the same time Tim is, lined up next to PJ Locke. You picking up what I'm putting down? Number 26 was rocking and rolling with that first group. And like you said, there were some injuries. Brandon Jones was not practicing today. Caden Stearns. But keep your eyes on 26. He's a guy. Fast. Yeah, he's a back of the roster guy that is getting a look. JL Skinner, he was in there. But he was in there over JL Skinner a little bit today. So just keep your eye out on him. And another guy that just jumped off to me in practice today was number 42, Nik Bonitto. Back-to-back plays, I think. The first one in a team period, it's a run going the opposite direction of him, a stretch going to the right, he's on the left, and he just hunts the running back down right away. Would have been a tackle for a loss, which is so good to see Nik Bonitto. Now, obviously unblocked, so maybe it doesn't ease all of your concerns about Nik Bonitto in the run game, but it was really good to see him make a big play. And then it was maybe the next play or one of the next couple of plays, he would have sacked the quarterback so unbelievably fast. It was a great play by Nik, and he's a guy that he just continues to flash in practice. And so I'm really curious to see when the pads come on in training camp if he continues this, because I think the coaches are noticing, and he's getting some serious reps, and he's really fighting for that starting job.
Yep. And that play where he got the sack, obviously it's not a real sack because you're not tackling quarterbacks. Right. So Jarrett Stidham threw the ball to little Jordan Humphrey over the middle. Pat just flew in and broke it up. He was on the field today, which is notable because we haven't seen. Have we seen him at all? I don't think we've seen him at all. I think Sean said he was in there for a couple snaps, but I didn't remember seeing it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this was his first day, which was really good to see. And like you said, that play was incredible.
And he was still rotating. I think. They just aren't risking anything with Pat.
Can't do that.
It's not worth it, especially when you have the competition. Like, let all those other guys play and see what happens.
Yeah, but back to Nik Bonitto, I feel like he's my biggest question mark. I think that he has shown a lot of potential. I think he has the ability to be a starter, and I think he does great when he's unblocked.
Yeah.
I want to see him win a one-on-one matchup in the run game and in the passing game, and I think that's really how he becomes the starting outside linebacker, because you want a guy who can understand a runaway versus bootleg. Like, I think he's great chasing the ball, but if you also do run a bootleg, I think he is smart enough to see it and get a sack there. But can he win just one-on-one against a left tackle, quick game, or 5-on-5, big on big? Like, can he win in those moments? That's what I'm most intrigued. Or my biggest question mark is can he do that? If he can do that, man, I think the sky's the limit for Nik Bonitto.
Yeah, and I think that he, to me, might have the most upside of any of the Broncos edge rushers, mostly because we've seen that speed rush. Like, the way he gets off the line, the way he can get upfield and turn the corner, like, that is probably the best move that any of the Broncos pass rushers have. He just needs to find a counter to it. Like, we're at the point where all the tackles can just kind of sit upfield a little bit because they know what's coming as soon as he adds the spin or some sort of just something so that he can vary that a little bit. Then that's where I think that first move shines. Because you look at like Baron Browning, he has the speed around the edge and the more bendy than Nik Bonitto is. But I still think Bonitto's straight burst is better. The difference is that Baron he does have a spin. He does have a bit more power, and so I think if Nik gets the counter, or ideally like a couple counters going, things could change for him pretty quickly.
And this is a massive, I mean, it's a contract year for Baron Browning. It's a massive year for Nik Bonitto because, and Todd, tell me if I'm wrong, but this is what I believe, especially if you're a higher drafted person, like first, second, third round, any of those guys, if you're drafted there and you don't produce by the end of your third year, it's probably, your career's probably been written. That's probably who you're going to be because you've gotten probably all the opportunities you needed to produce. Whereas some or later drafted guys or undrafted guys, they need years to finally get that opportunity, and that's when they can kind of explode in year 5 or 6 or 7. But Bonitto, this is his year. Like, he showed flashes. Rookie year, underwhelming, but it's a rookie year. You don't really hold against him. Last year, he showed flashes, but I think half of his sacks came in pretty much a 2-game period. Now we need to just see more consistency. If he shows that, he could be the Broncos' first double-digit sack person since Von Miller and Bradley Chubb in 2018. If not, well, then the Broncos might still be looking to upgrade that room this offseason, and he'll be kind of viewed as more so just a third down pass rusher that's fast and can do it when there's ideal circumstances, but not in every down, every situation type of guy.
Yeah, I think if he has 10 sacks, like you said, double digits, he definitely puts the Broncos in a bit of a predicament because this is normally the time where you would start thinking about other players out there and who could we bring in as a veteran because we kind of need – a pass rush now. Bo Nix has gone through his rookie season. Are we building for a Super Bowl within the next 2 years? Like, we need to start making some of these, decisions. Now, if he goes out and has 10 sacks, he's young. I think he's relatively cheaper than, a big-name veteran. But if he's still on the rise and continue to boost, it's a tough position to be in, for the GM of the Broncos because then you got to make a decision.
Yeah. Just looking at this, so after this season, I guess Hassan Reddick's trying to get a new deal.
Yep.
But Khalil Mack's a free agent. Matt Judon's a free agent. He's been playing great football. DeMarcus Lawrence, an older guy, if you wanted to bring him in for 2 years while Bonitto's cheap and kind of pair him. Josh Sweat, Chase Young. I guess it's not the greatest group. Marcus Davenport, if he figures things out. Did you play with him? No. He would have been drafted after you. And then also Minnesota, you got there after you. So yeah, I guess this isn't the greatest group of free agent pass rushers next year. So you'd really like to find something from somebody already on the roster.
Or Jonah Ellis takes a step.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very true.
There's only a couple.
It's very true. From practice today, a couple of other guys that I want to give deserved credit to. Riley Moss. Sean Payton praised him for his length at the position, for his smarts, for his versatility, being able to play inside and outside. And he right now is probably the leader, although Sean did praise Damari Mathis as well. He's probably the leader for that second cornerback spot opposite Pat Surtain, and he made a perfect play today in practice where Josh Reynolds was doing a go route down the left sideline, running really fast, and Riley Moss was draped over him in perfect coverage. Pass probably should not have even been thrown because there was just no hope of Josh Reynolds being open, but Riley Moss in perfect coverage, swats the ball away. There was 0% chance that Josh Reynolds could have made that catch, and just a really good PBU by Riley Moss. That ball was thrown by Zach Wilson. Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the David Sills catch over Jaquan McMillan a couple weeks ago when we spent a lot of time talking about, Jaquan's really good, and you can put him out there if you live with the fact that occasionally guys are going to make catches over him on the boundary. It's just a thing that's going to happen. Riley coming and making that play makes you think, well, here's a guy who's going to take those away, because it really was that same thing. It was full extension. It was a perfect play. That was a really tough play to make. Again, it's a battle. He also, it's not like he was perfect. I think just a couple plays before he got, it was an out from Phil Dorsett where Zach Wilson beat him there. So it was kind of back and forth, but you make the big play like that, and it's a lot easier to see how he could clean up the others. Yeah. Also, other thing on Art Green, he's made a bunch of big plays. He just about had another one. I forget who was running the crossing route, but he dove and full extension and just barely missed getting the ball away. But he's another one who he might make a push during training camp to get A job. That job's tough to get, but a job for sure.
Art Green sounds like a 1950s Hall of Famer for sure.
It does.
Definitely does.
No, that's a throwback.
He's pushing Bo for shortest name in NFL history.
Exactly.
He is.
Exactly. I know. I'm excited for how this DB competition is shaking out. I think people expect a lot from Riley Moss. He's showing up to be, similar to how everybody views him. So the Broncos need another great DB. I think they have the guys in the room that could be that.
Yep.
We just need somebody to step up and take it. I think my son's going through a little battle right now at tight end at his high school.
Really?
I'm like, you got to step up and take it, man. They're not going to give it to you. Even if coaches see potential, man, and you've made a couple good plays, are you going the extra mile? Are you staying after practice? Are you putting in the extra work? So I know all about competition, man. I'm excited to see what these DBs do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now you got the entire DNVR community pulling for your son. That other guy's hose right now.
Oh, shoot. I don't say any names. So.
One more note that I have from practice is Greg Dulcich. A couple of weeks ago, when we first saw Greg Dulcich off to the side and Sean gave us the update, Sean said something along the lines of, like, he will be back on the field before training camp.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't at OTAs. This is the last thing that's on the field before training camp, and he was not on there, out there on the field. Today he was just doing some conditioning, running up the hill, which did not look fun at all. But he was doing that, and Sean said after practice that, hey, there's still 2 days left in this mandatory minicamp where he can get on the field. Said we'll see how he feels tomorrow and see if he can get back. But just not a concerning or not a comforting sign to see him once again not able to get back, and maybe the timeline's being pushed. Maybe we'll see him out there tomorrow and he makes 4 catches and just looks like an absolute superstar, and we all feel a lot better about the situation. But man, with Greg Dulcich, it's just like every time that he's supposed to hit this next milestone, he just isn't there. So really a bummer to see. Hopefully he's back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sean said a few of those guys will be back. Or they're close to being back. So hopefully we get to see either Caden Stearns or Dulcich, or who else has been over there? Delarian's been over there. Brandon Jones, it'd be nice to see more of him. He's been over there for a couple weeks. So
To me, though, I don't need to see, like, I want to see Dulcich because it's just, like, constant.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
even at this point, like, if you're going to rush a guy back for a Wednesday practice
No way you can't
June
call it.
12th?
You can't call it a rush anymore.
Well, that's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
With
Just
Greg
bring a guy
Dulcich.
back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't really know what we're doing,
Exactly.
so I'm okay with just not seeing him. But if we don't see Greg in particular, it just would be like, man, another timeline that he just wasn't able to hit.
What's the injury again this time? What
This
is
time
it
it's
now?
a foot.
Foot.
So he came back from his second hamstring injury last year. I think it was December and November when he came back. The very first practice,
Yep.
he hurt his foot.
Yeah. So November to June.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just ready to see him. I mean, if he's gonna
Yeah.
come back, like
come back.
today's Tuesday of mandatory mini camp. I mean, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Because I mean, at this point, if he's been over to the side and he's running, like, let's run some routes.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too. Like, he's running hill sprints.
Yeah.
Is his foot not okay running routes? But I guess there could be more pressure on routes.
Straight line versus turning. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I know is I wish it was better. No, I'm not a doctor. I had
Henry, what are your final notes?
my first note of this entire camp on a center.
Wow.
Yeah, we haven't had a single center note this whole time because it's so tough to actually
Breaking
see anything.
news.
Yeah, it was before a play in the team drills, there was a safety who like charged up into the box. Alex Forsyth was like pointing. It's like blitz, and then they picked up the blitz perfectly.
Nice.
So first center note of all of these 4 practices now. He saw the blitz coming, called it out, set the protection. There you go.
Awesome.
I think Alex Singleton's going to be the starter. They're still doing a 3-man rotation.
Well, Alex
there.
Singleton is a starter.
Yeah.
What you
Alex
mean?
Forsyth.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course, Alex Singleton. going to be a starter. Man, we talked to Alex after practice today. Those middle linebackers are fun to talk to. He had some really good quotes. He was asked, like, you guys finished the season on defense a lot better than how you started on defense. Do you hope to kind of be the defense that you were at the second half of last season? He said, yeah, I mean, we don't plan to suck.
It's definitely not our goal.
Yeah.
No, definitely not the goal.
Also, the big note on Alex is that Sean said he will more than likely have the green dot.
Love it.
Not like a huge surprise.
I was going to say, like, I guess that is news, but to me, I was like, yeah, this is the least surprising thing ever. A veteran inside linebacker, when you moved on from Justin Simmons, who occasionally had that, and you moved on from the other inside linebacker.
Makes sense.
The only
Who
thing
else
is
would
that
it have been?
Yeah.
the only thing is that he doesn't play the mic. So you might have thought like Josie as the mic, you then pass that on to Jonas, but even that, like, it's a conspiracy theory. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. The linebacker, he's in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Because they're standing right next to each other, so it doesn't really matter who would have it. But if you're going to give it to one guy over another, you definitely think the veteran who plays on third down.
Definitely.
And if they get to some dime packages, I think Alex will be out there still. So I think it's important to give it to him.
Yeah, because he's the one guy who you look at and says, like, he's good at every part of being a linebacker.
Yeah.
To do courts on the side field, Pat played. Yeah. Oh, Sean also brought up that because they have more depth on the defensive line, they get to play DJ Jones and Zach Allen where they want to play them.
Love it.
Yeah, which is something that we've talked about a couple times a long time ago. But, you know, DJ Jones, is he a nose or is he like a 3 technique? You know, like Zach Allen, is he a 3 technique or 5 technique? And I think you kind of want him farther away from the quarterback. So I'm curious to see what those rotations actually look like and how they line up, because we don't know for sure what they see from those guys, because John Franklin Myers is another one where you can kind of line up a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
But it's a good sign that you're able to play guys in their natural positions instead of feeling like we're trapped. We got to put this guy here. That's another one that stood out.
I agree.
Jaleel looks fast.
So fast.
Very fast. He had a couple good runs. There was also one, it's like they ran a power, and he was kind of dancing in the backfield. And you're like, well, just go. This isn't one where you get to be creative, and then it got blown up in the backfield. But for the most part, it was a really good day for him. Thomas Yasmin had a few catches today. First time we've gotten to see him, and he isn't like the greatest storyline just because he is a lock to make the practice squad. Like they're not putting him on the active roster when you get the extra practice squad spot if you keep him there. And you're obviously not just going to kick him off the team when you could just keep him for free on the practice squad. But he did a couple things. Tyler Beatty had a couple really good runs today, and catches. He's the only running back we never talk about, but there's a shout out.
Sounds like a good day.
Yeah.
It was a good day. It was a good day. The offense is looking good. The quarterbacks are putting it together. The Bo show rolls on, and Court's got some drama going now, which we're going to be here to follow all the way. Broncos back for practice 2 of mandatory minicamp. Tomorrow, we're going to be there, and then we're going to be breaking it down to you right after practice. Double show day tomorrow, so make sure to put it in your calendars, in your phones. We're going to be going live as soon as we can after practice, probably about this same time. What was it, 3:15-ish? Could be a little earlier, could be a little later, and then we're going live from Coors Field at 6:30. Big action-packed day tomorrow. We look forward to breaking it down with all of you. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out. And before we get out of here, Henry,
John Franklin Myers is a monster. He had back-to-back plays, one where I can't remember if it was a run or a pass. It was a pass because he would have just killed the quarterback. And the next play, he had like the swim move past Ben Powers where the ball was out too quick, and then they doubled him on the next play. But he is a beast.
He is.
He's a beast.
And our comment section's a beast. We appreciate everyone that's rock and rolling with us. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out, and we'll see you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.